The pilot who was flying the plane which crashed during an election stunt with UKIP leader Nigel Farage on board has been in court charged with making death threats against the politician.
Both Justin Adams and Nigel Farage were seriously injured when a campaign banner got caught up in the plane's tail, causing it to plummet to the ground in Northamptonshire last May.
Well, Matt Hudson is at Westminster. Matt, are these recent threats?
Yes, they are, Victoria. As you know, Nigel Farage is very much the public face of the UK Independence Party. I think we can see him here, filmed today in Strasbourg at the Parliament there with two of his colleagues. He, of course, was the leader of UKIP, then he resigned, and then he was re-elected earlier this month. But he wasn't looking quite so happy on May the 6th, the day before the general election, when, as you say, the light aircraft that he was in crashed in Northamptonshire. UKIP banner had become tangled in the tail. Now, although Mr Farage walked away from the wreckage, he did suffer some very nasty injuries and the pilot had to be cut free. And at the time, this is what Mr Farage had to say about it.
Having survived the impact, being trapped in this wreckage, with this awful smell of petrol all over the place and thinking, oh, you know, we've survived the impact and now we're going to burn to death. And that was a very, very horrifyingly frightening feeling.
Just as we thought this story was dying away, an extraordinary turn of events. The pilot of the plane, Justin Adams, has been charged with threatening to kill Mr Farage last Friday, and also 2 days later, last Sunday, threatening to kill a man called Martin James. Now, he investigated the accident on behalf of the Civil Aviation Authority. My understanding is that it's alleged that Mr Farage was threatened both over the phone and in person. And now Adams appeared before Oxford magistrates, where he only confirmed his name and address and didn't enter any pleas. He is from Oxfordshire. He was remanded in custody and he'll reappear at the city's Crown Court next Tuesday.
Matthew, thank you very much. We'll let you get back in the ward. Now, a couple from Suffolk, whose daughter was killed by a drunk driver in a head-on collision, say everyone needs to take responsibility to stop more innocent people being killed this Christmas.
As anti-drink drive campaigns are launched across the region, designated drivers will get free soft drinks as a reward for staying sober. But budget cuts mean there will be no TV ad campaigns this year warning of the dangers. Ellie Price reports.
Sarah Lee was 24 when she was killed in a car crash near Bacton in Suffolk on the 5th of December last year. Her car was hit head-on by another travelling at around 80 miles an hour. The man driving was 2.5 times over the limit.
So I picked up the phone and I said, "Hello, Sarah," and a voice said, "It's Richard. I hate to tell you this, but I'm afraid Sarah has died." And the world seemed to stop. And then perhaps 10 or 20 seconds later, everything just seemed to explode inside me.
A talented artist, Sarah had been travelling home from organising an exhibition of her work at the Royal Hospital School in Holbrook. Now all her parents and sister have left of her are her pictures. This is one of their favourites, different shoes for each member of the family.
If we know that our friends or our relatives are likely to get behind the wheel after they had a drink or two, then I think it's up to us to try to stop them. And I think that's a very difficult thing to do because there is a lot of social pressure on us not to be a killjoy. But I can tell you from personal experience that there is a lot more joy that is killed by the drunk driver.
The reasons to not drink and drive this Christmas are the same as they've always been. And out on patrol today in these conditions, it's difficult to understand why anyone would want to take the risk. But sadly, police forces across our region are preparing themselves for those who will this Christmas.
I certainly believe if we could take someone to the scene of one of those sort of collisions and show them, I've no doubt that they wouldn't do it again. They certainly wouldn't continue to drink and drive.
The police say there's no excuse for drink driving, but the AA have commissioned research to find who is most likely to get behind the wheel when over the limit.
Young drivers are disproportionately represented per mile travelled, so they're a problem. Then there's the hardcore drink driver, the people who've probably got more of a drink problem than a driving problem. But in between is that opportunist. They might just be at that Christmas party, they might just take a chance.
The Lee family face their second Christmas without their eldest daughter. They hope they've made their message clear. Think, not drink, before you drive. Ellie Price, Anglia News.
It is 6:15.
The energy company Shell UK is being prosecuted following an explosion at Bacton gas terminal in Norfolk 2 years ago.
The company is accused of breaching both environmental and health and safety laws, as Elodie Harper reports.
On the evening of February the 28th, 2008, an explosion shook the coastal town of Bacton. Fire erupted in the water treatment area of the Shell gas plant, and over 70 firefighters were called in to control the blaze.
It's just over here to the left of the big towers.
Anna Hollis runs a caravan park just over 100 metres from the gas terminal. She remembers her whole house shaking in the blast.
I remember feeling a shudder at the house and a loud bang, and the next thing I knew, my husband come running in saying that there was an explosion at the terminal. We immediately ran outside and seen flames coming from parts of the terminal over there. So it was quite of a shock to have that happen.
Nobody was injured in the explosion, but the fire has resulted in Shell facing charges for serious breaches of environmental and health and safety law. In a statement, the Environment Agency and Health and Safety Executive say they have notified Shell UK Limited that the company is to be prosecuted jointly by both authorities.
The investigation has dragged on without any clarity about where it was getting to. Now we have the charges in place, then obviously they're very serious, and we can't reach any conclusions until the court has heard the case. But, you know, this was a serious explosion, lives could have been at risk, and it's right that it's treated very seriously by the court.
The Bacton gas terminal handles a third of Britain's gas supply. Shell is one of several energy operators at the site, which also houses the interconnector system that feeds gas between Britain and the rest of Europe. Within the terminal, Shell processes natural gas from both the North Sea and the continent. Shell told us they are aware they are to be prosecuted in connection with the fire here in February 2008, and that they are awaiting details on the charges. The case is due to start at Norwich City Magistrates Court in January. Elodie Harper, Anglia News, Bacton.
A new inspection report claims staff cuts at a Suffolk prison could make it unsafe. Inspectors say Blundeston prison near Lowestoft has been well managed, but staff shortages could affect prisoner and employee safety. The Independent Monitoring Board say they want a radical rethink of how prisons are funded to make sure frontline staff numbers do not fall any further.
Essex County Council has £200 million held in its reserves, more than any other council in the country. Local Government Secretary Eric Pickles says councils who hold large amounts of cash in reserve should be prepared to use it to ease the effects of spending cuts. Essex currently holds more in reserve than any other council in the country.